This episode of What's in My Driveway is brought to you by the Sweet Patina, where you can use the code UBT5 to get a discount off your order at thesweetpatina.com. I'm so pumped you're here. Do you know that? Like, we have tried.
I've been trying to make this happen.
Here, fist bump and all. Like,
yeah.
We've been trying to do this. This is the third time.
Yeah.
Third time's a charm. But because we do it outside, got to worry about that.
Yeah.
The man upstairs bringing a little too much rain down on us with camera equipment and decent trucks. This is What's in My Driveway. We're rebooting What's in My Driveway for 2024. I've got my buddy Darrell here with me. And this is kind of a unique episode in that we have the owner of the truck, of this really high caliber truck, but we also have the builder here today. So you're kind of going to get a twofold, you know, why Darrell wanted this truck, and then really we're going to talk about some technical specs with the builder, Jeremy from Redemptive Motorsports, in this episode. So hang tight, we're coming right back. Okay guys, as I mentioned, I'm here with Darrell. Darrell, how you doing today, man?
Great, man.
Good. Thanks for taking the time to come down. I know it's a little bit of a distance, and like I said in the intro, we've been trying to get together a couple of different times, and I'm glad we finally have. Can you tell me a little bit about why you wanted this truck?
I've always loved high performance 60s, 70 era cars, you know, like probably a lot of your audience, your kid. That usually when that love for them starts is when you're small. And my father and his brothers, you know, their cousins, they always had a yard full of muscle cars back in the day when I was little.
Oh, that's awesome.
So this generation of cars really made an impact on me, and I've always liked them. But what really drew me to the trucks, because everybody else, you know, I want a Camaro, I wanted this,
right.
I wanted that.
And I still do, by the way.
Yeah.
I have like 3 cars in my top 3 that I want that I don't own.
Yeah.
And it's just my love for trucks has trumped it a bit.
Yeah. What ended up happening was, truth be told, I discovered your channel.
Yeah, sorry, let's pause there for a second. All right guys, future editing Robbie here. Hope you're enjoying the video so far. Just wanted to quickly let you guys know that we jumped from the driveway into the cab of the truck because of the blowing that you hear on the video. It kind of interrupts the interview in the driveway, but I think it ends up making for a better video. We're actually inside the cab and talking and chatting, and you know, folks are a lot more free to talk when they're driving their truck around, or at least I know I am. So we jump in with Darrell right here. Let's jump back to the video. We'll keep moving. Well, man, I appreciate you coming over. Love the truck. Thanks for telling me about tell me a little bit about it thus far. One thing I didn't ask you about in the interview part is, what was the genesis for wanting a manual?
I had to be a manual. It had to be.
It's the right answer,
for
right?
me, yeah. And for a driving truck, I live in the mountains. I knew where I was going to want to drive the truck, and so it had to be a manual.
Yeah, it is.
There was no choice. I wanted to be able to blip throttle and gear down and shift out of a spin, you know, coming off those corners, and it was always going to be a manual for me.
Man, what a special truck. It even rides good. I mean, even
it rides
especially
fantastic, doesn't it?
Yeah, especially for having a, you know, more sporty type suspension.
The suspension works great. The QA one and stuff has definitely exceeded my expectations. You can feel the effectiveness of the clicks. That's all I do when I want to go a little harder on some days. I just throw a couple of clicks in, and it works. I mean, you can feel it. It dampens the truck down, and it just plants it. And if I'm just out cruising, like I did the GM tailgate tour the other week with those guys. Yeah. That was my first road trip with her. Thanks so much to those guys for putting that on. It was fun, met some great people. Yeah. They had put so much work into how they laid out the mapping and the routes, and it all worked fantastic. And it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. You can't beat that. I mean, back farm roads, cruising through Tennessee and Carolina and places like that in a truck like this, I was in heaven. It's
kind of an important thing to point out. So you've had this truck back in your possession for how long?
I've had this truck in a drivable state in my possession Since probably January.
Okay.
Really.
Yeah.
Because when I ran into you at the Fall Revival,
Yep.
I had never seen the truck in one piece.
Right.
Never. It was a driving truck when I bought it.
Right.
And you'll get that heartbreak story from Jeremy.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
where I got it from.
Right.
So, you know, it was an original Y County truck, and a lot of people are really familiar with it and had seen it around. But I ended up with it, and those guys thrashed and thrashed and thrashed. And when I left to go to the Fall Revival on Thursday, the front clip wasn't on it, the hood wasn't on it, the quarter panels wasn't on it.
Yeah.
It was in pieces.
Yeah, stressful moment.
So literally just before you saw me cruising it in with just the mufflers exiting out under the car.
Yes, I remember.
That's why it was so loud.
So loud. Yes.
Yeah, that's why it was so loud. That was the first time I'd seen it with the body panels on it. It's the very first time.
Well, it definitely has a very striking color. Is there something about this color that you wanted to go with? Were you searching for a reddish orange, or you're just searching for a good truck?
I've always liked this color. We didn't paint this truck.
Yeah.
No. Jeremy can give you the name, but there's a guy up there, everybody knows him, named Kent up in Cleveland. He runs a muffler shop.
Oh, he did the
exhaust.
Yeah, he did the exhaust on my Blazer.
His son restored the paint on this truck.
Okay.
And because I didn't know if I was going to want to paint it or not.
Yep.
And I wasn't even here when it was happening, and he came in and he started rubbing on it, and Jeremy sent me some pictures, and I was like, freaking awesome.
Yes.
No, we're not painting it.
Yeah.
Tell him keep rubbing.
Yes.
And then when he's done, just ceramic coat it, and we're leaving it.
Yes.
We're leaving it.
I love that.
Just like that. So I don't know how old this paint is, but it's old.
Yeah. Well, it looks awesome. It definitely buffed out super nicely.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I was asking you about how long you had it is because I know it hasn't been very long, and you've already taken it on GM tailgate tour.
Oh yeah.
How many miles do you think you put on this thing already?
Right at 2,000 now.
Heck yes.
Right at 2,000. And as it was, finishing touches were being put on it, it was drivable. So if they were waiting for something, I'm like, I'm coming to get the truck.
Yeah.
I'm coming to get the truck. It's too pretty out. I'm coming to get the truck.
I love it.
And so I've been driving it, and now the tailgate tour she gave me, she just drove fantastic. We're shaking it down, and I ended up having to call Jeremy once.
Yes.
We had to call him once.
Yep.
And I was like, dude, I'm going to tell you, I was ripping up 68 back there.
I'm sure you loved when you started the comment with that. I was ripping up.
Yeah, and I had a big gap, so I was in it. I know the road well from riding motorcycles, and I was ripping it. I'm letting it run out to the rev limiter, and she's popping and hauling ass. But then I smelled something, and I was like, what is that?
Yeah.
But then it went away, and I'm like, kept
burning a little something off the plug.
But then I noticed when I caught up the traffic, it started making a little noise, and what it was, I had, with all the grip this thing now generates, and I had been running into the corner so hard that the standard power steering fluid they put in there has started to boil.
Yep.
And when I opened that cap, it just poured smoke out.
Oh man!
Power steering fluid reservoir.
That's the only problem you had. You won.
yeah. And I kept going. Once it cooled down, it was fine. It stopped. It quieted down, and it was fine. But we put some synthetic in it since, some racing stuff.
That's awesome.
And he's like, man, we didn't expect that. He's like, people talk about driving, but most people don't drive these trucks.
That's right.
I was like, dude, I told you I was going to drive the truck.
When we talked at Fall Revival, that was one of the things. Obviously, you told me a little bit about the truck, and I was like, okay, well, this is a high caliber truck. It's going to be awesome. Would love to have something like this, in the driveway where we can film it. But the part that got me was like, I'm going to drive the truck.
Oh yeah.
And I'm going to drive the truck to you, and I'm going to drive the truck home, and then I'm going to go drive the truck anywhere I need to go.
Yeah.
Or want to drive the truck.
I drive it.
I love that. I think that is really so cool.
Yeah. I'm in business with a couple of people. I have a couple of coffee shops up in North Georgia area there. And
very cool.
I drive around to the little outlet places and antique shops looking for bookshelves and cabinets and stuff, because this bed's bigger than the bed in my new Dodge, right?
That's right.
So I had it coated. Some guys did a very nice job coating it for me. Don't worry, guys, I didn't turn the whole thing black.
Yeah.
The bed looked too good, so they just coated it, about this far up from the bottom of the wall on the bottom, did a real cool job for me, sealed the bed up, because we didn't grind the bed, we didn't have to repair anything on this truck. There are no cutout panels that we have to put back in.
Oh man, I love that.
This thing is beautiful.
That's kind of unheard of, actually.
Yeah,
especially with the 6772.
Yeah.
The one thing I'm noticing right now is it has a really nice exhaust note. What do you know about the exhaust? You know what kind of mufflers you got on this thing?
It is a Borla something or the other.
Is it a Pro XS or an XR1?
One of those.
Okay.
Jeremy will know.
Yeah,
I get to talk to him.
Yep.
I can't remember. It's right on the tip of my tongue. But when you get to be 60, you start forgetting stuff.
God, you're 60 years old?
I am 60 years old, man.
You're in better shape than I am, and I'm 40.
It's perfect. It was a little rumbly, but we found this cool wrap for mufflers, and it took all the rumble out. Because I told Jeremy, I said, it's not decibels.
Yeah.
It's pressure, sound pressure, with the supercharger and the compression. I said, it's pressure levels. And it's reverberating in the truck. And I said, I think if we can just wrap the muffler so that the walls can't vibrate on the muffler, I can't hear it anyway, it'll go away. And we did that. And so
there's no drone or anything in here. I mean,
we can sit in here and talk and everything.
Well, it feels like you can really feel like there is some built up power, some pent up power. Like this thing really just wants to rock.
Yeah.
What do you love about that supercharger?
Honestly, I can't separate it from the whole setup. The whole engine setup turned out so good.
Yeah.
And the guys at the shop, Jeremy built the motor.
Yep.
So that was his thing. And so it's got some Edelbrock billet and float heads. It's got a cam that Jeremy chose for it, because he wanted a cam that would make well with the supercharger. And, we didn't want a lot of surging because I drive the truck.
Yep.
And he matched it perfectly. You can feel the truck doesn't surge, clutch doesn't chatter or anything. And then, obviously titanium in the valve train and stuff like that. And then we popped that supercharger on there because I wanted respectable numbers.
Yeah.
So Lance tuned her up, and it was very respectable.
Awesome.
650, 660 to the rear tire.
Woo, that is plenty.
All day. And let me tell you, I can show you the curve. It is straight and flat, right to where I told him set the red line.
Oh man, that's awesome.
It was still making power, and I'm like, I don't want to hurt it. We don't need to run it that hard. I don't need that last 20 or 30.
Yeah.
Just cut the power right there.
I do love that.
I set the red light in here on these cool gauges. I set the red light to come up about 500 short of that, to make sure I have time to shift on it. Because sometimes when you get in it, and that supercharger comes on and the wheels come loose, you got to shift.
Yeah, you're at that threshold where you could map this thing just about anywhere in the power band.
Yeah.
You could cut them loose if you really wanted to.
Yeah. It is very, very predictable. The throttle feel is very progressive. And when the truck lights up hard like that, it doesn't get squirrely. It spins straight ahead.
Wow.
It doesn't try to kick out or kick around on me. It wants to go straight.
Yeah.
And
it's always nice when you can have that.
Yeah, to be able to just get in it and, don't have that thing trying to fishtail or unwind itself when you get off the throttle, you shift out of the spin. It doesn't come around. It goes.
There's somebody waving at you right there. We're going to head back to the house for a minute, and we'll talk a little bit more with Jeremy about the truck. But something about your background intrigues me. I've noticed that you're a Desert Storm veteran.
Yeah.
You mentioned coffee shops. Tell me a little bit about how you got to this point, sort of where you can build a truck like this.
Well, I started my career in the Air Force. It's what I always wanted to do.
Yep.
So I went to school from that in Virginia. I went to a place called Virginia Military Institute.
We'll go straight.
And graduated from there with a mechanical engineering degree. And then I went into the Air Force. Came out of flight school in '87 as a navigator, Wizzo type guy, and just started flying. That's how I ended up in Desert Storm. That happened in 91.
Yep.
Shows you how old I am.
Yep. I remember those being 7 or 8 years old. I remember
well, when you were 7 or 8 years old, I was sleeping in a tent and flying 67 missions.
So, making it safe for me. So I appreciate that.
I ended up getting selected to go out to Edwards Air Force Base.
Yep.
And I got into flight tests.
Okay.
Out there, that was, if you have to have a military flying job, that was the best.
That was the one, huh?
Ramp full of airplanes
and
getting to fly pretty much everything that's operational in the fleet.
Man.
And I had a great time. I had a very specific job that called for me to be familiar with flying and operating a lot of different airplanes. And so got lots of times in F-16s, some F-15 flights, T-38s, all the heavy aircraft that used you know, navigators.
Yeah.
I got to fly a lot. It was a great career. What I ended up doing was I got another offer I couldn't refuse.
Yeah.
And that was going to NASA.
Wow.
I'd met some NASA people before supporting them in a mission, and they called me and let me know that that operation was moving. I ended up being recruited by NASA. I became a mission director for NASA, flying airborne research missions.
Wow.
All over the world. It was
What an interesting thing.
It was super cool.
Yeah.
Super cool. And I got the opportunity to come back and get into the technology space, specifically financial services.
Yeah, sure.
You know, credit card transactions and all of that. And that's where I learned IT, real IT, networking, computing, storage,
infrastructure,
and all of that, infrastructure, and running teams and doing big international acquisitions and conversions, and things like that. And I took that career all the way to being CIO. And then a few years ago, I ended up partnering up with some guys in a private equity group, and we formed a company called Paya that we took public.
Very
ended up
cool.
going public and then later sold back to the private sector. So that kind of set me up.
Yeah, for sure.
To where I could do these kind of things.
Well, it sounds like you've made some really smart decisions and put in a lot of hard work.
A lot of hard work.
Yeah,
a lot of hard work.
Well, thanks for sharing that with me. It's something that I'm always intrigued about, you know, how regardless of what your financial status is, like how did you end up loving trucks? How did you end up in this place where you could build a truck like this? How,
the love of trucks and the interest and the knowledge and the desire truly came from watching your channel. I discovered your channel on YouTube and just started watching it. I didn't have a truck at the time.
Wow.
And I would sit and watch your videos. I fly big RC airplanes. I love everything airplanes too. And while I'd be building an airplane, I'd have you on in the background and looking at trucks and looking at you and Rocky and your boys in the yard and driving out to different events and road tripping. And I just started to fall in love with trucks. And as I watched yours, I started to watch more videos. I'm like, that whole scene's blowing up.
It really is.
Who doesn't like old trucks, right?
It's true. It's
Who
true.
doesn't like old trucks? You know, when we were building this thing, I knew the aesthetic, I knew the feel I wanted from the truck when I was in it, and the look of it. You know, a lot of people see beautiful trucks and go, that's a really beautiful truck. And they like looking at it. I want people to see this truck and go, damn, man, I would love to drive that thing.
Yes.
I would love to drive that thing. And that's what I wanted the feel of this thing to be, which is something that you knew I drove and something that you would want to drive just looking at it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And but everything else was Jeremy. You know, the hoses, the clamps.
Yeah.
You know how we're going to build the motor out. Everything. I just I let him go.
I love it.
Like, baby, we're in it this deep now.
Let's
no need to go deep now.
I love it.
Keep going. Buy it. If that's what you think we should have, that's what you put in it.
In fact, why don't we bring Jeremy in and we'll let him drive us around and tell us a little bit about it. But thanks for your time, man. This has been awesome.
Man. Jeremy.
Now we got the man in here.
Sweet.
Tell us all about this thing. Hey, tell me, is this a push button start? What's the deal with this?
It is, yeah, absolutely. So, and there's a couple hidden features on this thing. There's a master shutoff underneath the bench seat.
Yeah.
To show you. And then this is actually the ground switch for the ignition on the whole truck. So the whole truck will not run without this ground circuit for the ignition relay. So it's actually just a little safety device so you can't really steal the truck.
Yeah, love that.
It makes it hard to steal.
When I was talking to Darryl, we were obviously talking about how everything feels really tight, how it's not overly loud inside the cab, but how you can tell this thing still wants to like eat.
It wants to go.
It wants to do the thing.
Yeah. And he just took it up the mountains on that tailgate tour. So
yeah, that's what he said.
And then he took the tail of the Dragon back and he did the whole thing, and he said he beat on it really hard. So
well, he said he only had to call you one time, which I know as a builder, that's pretty impressive.
And it's okay because he drives it hard, so I'm okay with that. I'd rather him drive it, and we build show trucks. There's nothing against that either.
Yeah, for sure.
But this is more what I want to get into and customers I like to have.
Yeah. Well, tell us, speaking of your business, tell us a little bit about your business real quick before we jump back into the truck.
Background's building road race cars.
Yeah.
And just started building cars for a buddy that knew that I did that, and I started making a little more money out of the garage at nights than I was. So I took the plunge. My wife is the one that actually considered me doing it, so I quit my good salary income job and rented out a building and thank God it's been really been good. So
well, what's the name of the business?
So it's Redemptive Motorsports.
Yep.
Thankfully we've been growing, we've been adding employees little by little, and we have really good backlog and customers are happy. We got killer builds coming up this year, and
awesome.
We've just been slowly growing it. So,
yeah, we're just riding around in my old neighborhood, as everybody knows. We got kids on golf carts and all sorts of stuff, but they're used to seeing old trucks rolling through here. So Redemptive is up in Cleveland, Georgia, right?
Yep, we're in Cleveland, Georgia.
Yeah, so North Georgia?
North Georgia, love it up there. It's quiet. You can see Mount Yonah right from our shop. So
oh, wow.
And it's gorgeous there.
That is awesome.
And we're on a little 8-acre piece of property, and we're slowly going to grow that into some more buildings and some more things in the
Very
future.
cool.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit more about this truck. Can you just give me a full rundown on this thing? Kind of take me front to back, like what's going on with the engine and trans. Tell me a little bit about suspension, wheels, and tires. Hit me with some tech.
So the tech on this thing, foundation is going to be all QA1 products. Basically, their whole coilover bolting kit with their Heim joints. It's really good for what this truck serves. Its purpose is not a full-on race truck. Darrell didn't need a full bolt-on chassis because he didn't want it to compromise the daily driving to and from Roswell and Duluth from the countryside. And I mean, we've put aftermarket chassis on cars before and they ride great, but when you drive in downtown Atlanta, it is hard on components.
It is.
It's hard on bushings, it's hard on wheels and tires, especially if you got a short sidewall tire, you know, you can bend the wheel. So we didn't want to go that extreme. And so we went with QA1 suspension. We've got big Willwood brakes for the wheels. We have a nice set of two-piece 19-inch wheels on it.
Ooh.
I like that brake. Everyone rolls the 20s. I feel like that's more of like a cruising wheel.
For sure. I completely agree.
18s, you know, that's a really good race size wheel. And this is like the perfect compromise between both sides.
I would agree with that.
I think it fits the fender well perfectly on this, on the 67, 72 body style.
Yep.
And oh man, their wheels came out great. The engine is an LS1. So this truck originally was my truck. This is my shop truck.
Yeah.
And he's been pounding me, wanting to buy it. And I finally sold it to him because his vision and his budget was a lot better than what I was going to be able to take it to.
That's right.
And I still got to be able to build it. So
of course.
It was great. It was really just a win-win.
Yeah, like a best of both worlds.
Yeah, so I already had a lot of the components. I already had the suspension bought. I already had the vintage air. I had a bunch of the parts already in stock for this truck to build. I just didn't have the time.
Yeah, sure.
And that's what everyone lacks, even as a business owner. Even though I do it day in and day out, all my projects are still the last ones to get touched.
That's right.
It's just part of it. So the LS1 is an aluminum block. LS1 5.7 has got Edelbrock RTX ported heads, and then we have a Magnuson, and it's the smaller Magnuson. So this is a 1900 Radix series. I wasn't trying to build anything crazy, but the truck makes like just under 650 to the tires.
Gosh, that's so rad.
So I'm not sure what that means exactly at the crank, but I'd say at least 725.
Oh yeah.
And it's perfect. So good forged internals, T56 Magnum from Bowler transmission.
Yeah.
McLeod, their RTX twin clutch.
Yep.
And good aluminum dry shaft, and it's got the stock 12 bolt still in it.
Yep.
Housing, and then it's got all good guts inside Detroit True Track. And I believe we got 373 gears, so
which is perfect for this combo.
Perfect,
it seems.
yes,
yeah.
it is perfect. And so with the double overdrive, all that works out really well.
Yeah.
It's on the highway, it cruises nice.
So you like the T56 Magnum?
I love T56 Magnums.
Everybody does.
Because you can get so aggressive with the gearing and still be able to cruise the highway. It works out so great.
Yeah. A lot of versatility.
Absolutely. Inside, we got Dakota Digitals. Everyone runs those.
Yep.
We don't want to go too crazy with like a touch screen. You know, we just went with a retro sound.
Yep.
We do have a push button start. Now the pedals, full-on Tilton race pedals.
I can tell.
Yeah, they don't really sell them or market them much because they're a process to install.
Yeah,
you know, there's a lot of fabrication, and you kind of need to know what you're doing before you start sacrificing the integrity of the cab, because you got to cut so much out of the firewall.
Yeah.
And it's all dependent on the firewall strength. But they work good. If you want a heel toe, you can heel toe this truck. and you can go on the mountains and beat on it, and it is awesome.
That is awesome.
Yeah, so-
yeah, they look full on race too.
Yes. Darryl, he's more into motorsports. He races motorcycles. He's comfortable with a really small pedal assembly where they're really close, and he knows what he's doing.
Yeah. I know this was some of his personal styling, but I even like the wood grain type stuff.
This is all him. So when it comes to all the details, I did not want to give him any influence on that. I wanted it to be his style, his touch, his persona coming out through the truck.
Yeah.
So the Cerakote, the trim, that was all his idea. He's like, I want no chrome, and I'm a no chrome guy.
Yeah.
I'm cool with that.
Same.
But when he came with the burnt bronze and Cerakote, I was like, oh.
Gotta see how this is gonna look.
I told you, it's your truck, right?
Yeah.
I didn't tell him no.
Yes.
And I said, let's go for it. Let's just see.
Yeah.
And man, it hit perfect with this orange.
It does.
You know, we debuted this truck at C10 Fall Revival, and the colors were right. The autumn trees were perfect. I mean, it just hit. It was a home run.
Yeah.
And then he's just kind of tied it in with this little saddle distressed leather from TMI Interior. So this is all TMI stuff. We had a local upholstery shop, 626, do some more of the Western inserts.
Really like the oranges and browns like you were talking about, and really the trim work, the Cerakote bronze on the outside, tying in with the wheels and bringing it all on the interior is really
it worked out really nice.
Just so cool. Even down to the mats and the the shift boot.
We just wanted to tie it all, not go too crazy. But we just wanted to kind of incorporate everything, and so we're running Borla's Pro XS.
They sound really great on LS stuff too.
They sound good. They seem good at high RPMs. They get loud and they kind of tone down, so you can kind of cruise.
Is it full 2.5 or is it?
It's 3-inch.
3-inch.
Right off the collector.
Yep.
It's full stainless, so we do all stainless exhaust in house, all TIG welded.
Very nice.
A lot of the fabrication is done inside. So like the engine bay, I like a clean engine bay. So here's my thing. I'm a Mopar guy at heart.
Are you really?
Yes.
Did not know that.
Guy at heart.
Okay.
So what I love about Mopar engine bays is that the same body color is the same engine bay.
Yes.
So if you go to, I had a 70 Roadrunner.
And we'll go right here.
And it was red, but the firewall and the inner fenders are red on those cars. And GM goes black.
That's right.
That's right. And then you'll get the top of the outer fenders, might be the same color as exterior, but that's it. And so I've done this on a few other projects, and I used to tell the customers, like, look, trust me, let me try it. Let me try go full body color on the engine bay, and I think you're gonna love it. Because most guys would do the firewall orange, and and that's it.
I do cab, firewall body color.
Yes.
And then obviously the fenders, and then the way they kind of roll down is body color. But then I do inner fender, I do core support, all that stuff is black.
It's black.
Yeah.
So the core support's still black, but I was like, let me do inner fenders. Because I welded them all up, we body worked them, they're metal finished. I said, look, these things look nice. Pop.
I noticed the vintage air stuff's run real close over here, tucked in and down, which is really nice.
And we have billet bulkheads everywhere, so if you had to take the core support off, you're not taking off or cutting one whole line. There's sections that can be replaced or repaired, absolutely.
We're on a little bit of a straight here. Can you kick it down and just run up on that truck, and let's just see what that feels like? My goodness. You can tell with that root style blower, it is just there. I mean, just there.
And he's got good tires on it. And I told him, don't go cheap on tires. When you get with the truck with no bias in the rear and you're starting to make over 600, they're not fun to drive, actually.
You're just going to blow the tires off all the time.
You're just blowing the tires, and if you get in a corner and you think you're going to go wide open, you're not. You're going to spin it and back it into a wall or a guardrail, and you're not going to be happy. So we put the Extreme Sports from Continental. This is a good tire. They ride good. If you get caught in the rain, they're not too bad. You can still slow down, and it sipes most of the water out.
That's awesome. Well, they're a partner of ours on the channel. So,
oh, really?
Yeah,
Perfect.
so appreciate you running some Continentals. It's not always the case.
I run those on a lot of customer cars when they want to have a fun car, and they work really good. They're quiet.
And Darrell was sitting here talking about the same thing. He was like, even if I get in this thing and mat on it really hard, it wants to go straight.
It wants to go straight.
He said the thing does not just start sliding out from under you and
so we did all the alignment in-house, and so we we make sure everything's where it'll track true. If you want to do a burnout and you can go through second to third, it may have happened.
Yeah, maybe.
It'll keep going straight. It's not gonna, you know, surprise you and go out to the side. And,
man, it feels strong. So what pound boost you running on this blower?
We're running 11.
11. Okay.
So, which is impressive because we're still running a 6-rip belt.
Yeah. Okay.
So we do have the crankshafts pinned. We had a few issues on the dyno where we spun the balancer on the crankshaft because Magnuson told me it's not going to make enough boost to actually spin it on a 6-rip.
Okay.
And then we put a mechanical tensioner on it, and it spun the crankshaft. And they were like, we didn't know that could happen. And they're like, how much boost are you running? And I said,
well, it did.
I ordered the smallest one you guys offer, and it wasn't small enough, so I ordered another one for Power Grip, and we put a really small pulley on it, and it's good now. Now it's where we want it to be. So, but this is perfect. It actually can make more power, but for Darrell, he was happy with it.
Yeah,
we were too. So.
Just sounds and feels great. So great. And it feels very planted and safe. Like those are things that I always think about when I get in a truck that has, you know, some high horsepower, has you know, been built to be beat on a bit. You know, you get in some and you're like, man,
it's not stable.
I don't want to be in this while you're doing that.
Yeah, this is sketchy.
Yeah, this feels really nice.
Well, even brakes and suspension, everyone adds power.
Yes.
You know, that's the first mod, right? And I get it. We're all gearheads. We want to go fast, but we don't think about turning or slowing down. It's
if you can't stop this thing, you're in bad shape.
Harder. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yes.
So sometimes, I mean, I've even encouraged people like, let's put this suspension and brakes on a car. Keep the 305.
Yeah.
You're gonna have so much more fun because you can hold it wide open in a corner.
That's right.
Yeah, you're making 200 horsepower, but that 200 horsepower is gonna feel like so much.
Yes, because you can actually use it.
You can use it, all of it. I kind of build things the other way around, and after people experience it, like, okay, I'm ready for more power now, because some people can't really handle 600 or 800 horsepower.
Well,
and that's okay. You know,
it is okay. You start getting into these numbers and higher, if they're not set up correctly, all you're going to do is just blow the tires off of it and have a really hard time having fun in it.
Absolutely.
You know, and so I think this one obviously feels very well balanced, where you can take that power and make it and it be usable.
Absolutely, yeah.
Tell me a little bit about the road racing. This leads right into, you know, you mentioning that was your prior experience, and now you're incorporating it into your builds, and you're not just building trucks, you're building Chevelles, and you're probably building Mopars and building
late model stuff. Yeah, we do a lot of stuff.
But tell me a little bit more about your road racing, and we'll turn right at this red light.
So I worked with Pratt & Miller, and they were basically the company that ran the manufacturing series for Corvette racing.
Okay.
And so I was on the 3-car, and we worked on that. We did the whole, well, in the beginning it was called America Le Mans Series, and I see another 65 over there. And then it got bought out by NASCAR, now it's IMSA, but we basically we did all their endurance racing. We've been to Le Mans. We did the 24 Hours of Le Mans. I've won a few championships with them, a lot of big priority races, the big 3. And man, it was an experience. It was phenomenal. So we do everything in-house there, literally. And that really cut my teeth and got me deeper in love with that passion.
For sure.
And I just love motorsports now.
Dude, what an experience.
Yeah, it was great. It was super great. Left college, I ended up dropping out. I was so close to getting the degree. And I helped out at an event at Road Atlanta. They do their 10 hours of Petit Le Mans. And they needed a guy on the 3-car, on the 4-car, and I went and helped out. And I guess everything worked out pretty good. They asked me for a resume, and so I gave them a resume, no big deal. Wasn't really interested into the road racing.
Yeah.
All of those guys were previous Roush guys from NASCAR, so we clicked off. And so I get a call the following week, and they're like, hey, we'd love to hire you. And this was like on a Thursday, literally.
Yeah.
And I said, I'd love to come up.
Yeah.
And they said, well, when can you start? I said, I'll be there Monday.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, we'll see you Monday at 6. I said, okay, no problem.
So you said that was all based around Corvettes.
Yeah.
And I saw you pull up in, what is that, a C6?
That is a C6, actually. Yeah. That is the car that we started on. So it was a GT2 series, and I worked on that. We worked on the C7, and I did a little bit of help on developing on the C8 stuff.
Very cool.
So what's really cool is it's a manufacturing base series, so you have to run manufacturing frame rails. A lot of stuff that comes from the factory you have to run on that car.
Okay.
So
And we're going
I got to go to the wind tunnel and help them develop a lot of stuff. So how that series works is for you to have a good race car, they let you influence the street car.
Okay.
So our car is based off the Z06, the race car. So we got to really develop some of the aero for the C7. We were testing the C7 before it was even out in the wind tunnel.
Wow.
And there's a lot of things that I couldn't talk about, but I was able to be a part of, and that's
what a cool experience.
That's always really cool.
Do you think that and I think I know the answer, but that experience, did it inform what you're doing now at Redemptive?
Oh yes, absolutely, yeah. And even the work ethic behind it, I would say, is another big thing.
We'll turn right.
The car has to perform at 100% at all times.
Yes.
A failure could be, it could be devastating to the car, or if not, someone's life, right?
Yeah.
So you have to always take that into consideration. Hold safety at the highest regard.
Yep.
And it definitely influenced me, and I mean, it changed who I was, and I probably have a lot of those values based into my company now. Yeah. Aside from it being faith-based, now we're a faith-based company, and all that's a blessing.
For sure.
And that's where we are now.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, Jeremy, I appreciate your time, man.
Absolutely.
Thanks for coming down. It's really a unique thing to have, customer vision, builder vision in the one place.
This is cool.
And that's really cool to get this perspective from both of you. So thanks for your time, man.
Thank you.
So we're back. We've shot a bunch of other stuff, so it's a little later in the day, but I'm back here with Darryl, and I gotta say, I've already learned some great things about this truck, and you've told me a little bit about the foundation as to why you wanted this truck. But can you tell me a little bit about your favorite part of this truck? What is your favorite part about this truck?
That's easy. The whole feel of it, the red, they call it red, but it looks orange to me, and the bronze, and just, it looks like a truck you want to drive.
Yeah.
That's what I was really going for. Like I said, I've seen a lot of pretty trucks that you wouldn't want to put your hands on, but I wanted one that when people saw it or they heard it coming, they're like, oh my God, that must be a blast to drive.
Yeah.
And that's it. I love it. Sitting in it. I live up in North Georgia. I was just telling Jeremy we're coming back. There's nothing like being in an old truck cruising on a windy country road.
Totally.
You got to be going anywhere.
Yeah.
Anywhere. It's so cool.
Well, this one definitely has that looks fast sitting still, and then when you crank it up, you definitely get the well, it probably is pretty quick. Yeah. hear that little bit of blower, hear that good exhaust. Well, I'm really appreciative you came over today. A lot of the interview that I was going to do right here, we did a lot of it in the car, or in the truck. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that.
You meet people at shows and you hear guys talk about their trucks, and I have a friend in Arizona. He must have had 3 different builders put their hands on his truck trying to get it done.
Yep.
And I can't say enough about those guys.
Yeah.
Like, this whole truck was built in that shop and done in Cleveland. I only had to go one place.
Yep.
It got done one time.
Yep.
It got done right, and I'm completely satisfied with it.
That's so
no
cool.
run around, no hassle. They built me a truck.
Yeah, well, and the cool thing is you got Redemptive's shop truck. They sold you their shop truck.
Yeah, show me that baby.
Yeah.
That's going to haunt him for a while.
I know it.
That's going to haunt him for a while.
Well, the good thing is he got to build it.
Yeah.
He still got to build it, and it has turned out to be something really, really awesome. So I appreciate you coming down. Like I said, we tried to do this 3 different times, but I know it took time out of your day to come do this, and
I wanted to do it, man.
I really appreciate it.
I look so forward to it since we started the project. This was my goal. So
well, that is awesome. Well, thank you so much, Darryl. Hope you have a safe trip home, man.
Thank you, man.
Well, Jeremy, you wanna give me a little walk around on this thing and tell me some little cool. I know you did some cool little techie things that folks at home might want to know about.
You guys saw the ignition switch, but we always put batteries underneath the truck of these on these trucks, so it does have an onboard battery tender. Just a trickle charger. The truck may sit for a month or 2 depending on if you travel, but this is just something easy. We didn't want to get rid of this piece because we didn't paint the truck on the exterior. This is the paint that's on it, and we didn't want to weld anything there and burn the paint up, so we just repurposed it, kept the little filler neck, the nice caps, or coated it, and just hook up a drop cord and you got like a 2-amp trickle charger going to the truck. So we did put these track spec basically hood vents as well. A few different companies sell them, but these are really, really good. They make bigger ones for these trucks, but we didn't want to go so intrusive. So these came out perfect, and they work really well. We noticed like about a good 6-degree difference on cooling.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it, but I mean, if you think about it, all the air kind of comes in. It's just a parachute. It's just holding air, so you can kind of just see all the hot air come out. But so we did put filler panels that kind of helps shroud all the air go through the radiator. But yeah, so both upper and lower lines have a -20 AN lines.
-20.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we just weld the bungs onto the water pump and onto the radiator, and so it's serviceable. You just get a -AN wrench or knock it off, and you can service it if you needed to. But it just gives you that race car feel.
Oh, for sure.
And that's what we want. We want a clean engine bay with a race car feel. Nice race pedals that we were kind of talking about earlier. It keeps it clean. The color match inner fenders.
Yeah, which is not typically something I, as we talked about, would go for.
No.
But it looks really nice, especially with you toned it down with the engine color, like the
Yes.
bronze and and all the black.
Well,
I mean, it really,
everything flows really good.
yeah, it does.
I think if you go, I think the core support's kind of like the deadline. If you start going color match on the core support, it might be a show car.
Yeah, for sure.
It's got to stay black. And I love black radiators. You know, I don't like the aluminum radiator look. That's just something.
No, it's all personal
I don't like
preference.
fingerprints, and then you having to polish.
Yep.
I just don't like having to polish parts on the car. But yeah, this turned out really, really good. All the intercoolers up here from Magnuson. Their pumps down here. There's a nice bulkhead going through it, and just a lot of good parts that are from good companies that work. But it's still on a 6-rib belt. Like I said, we're all right under 12 pounds of boost, and it works really, really good. Hood hinges are from Ring Brothers.
Ring, yep.
And we tried other ones, but these have really good adjustability, so we do like it. And they worked right out of the box. I mean, it didn't take us very long to actually get these to work.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
All the lines obviously ran underneath. We eliminated the factory firewall bulkhead from the factory chassis wiring, so there's usually like a little square port there.
Yep.
All that's been changed underneath, and all that's kind of ran and hitting inside the inner fenders and underneath the truck.
Yeah, it's super clean.
Yeah, Holley Terminator is what's running this. It's underneath the seat, so you can kind of like just move the seat forward, and you can kind of get to all the relays. Everything's labeled pretty neat. And it does have its audio. It's got sound system behind the seat as well. I don't know if y'all looked at that, but there is sound system behind the seat, and
we didn't. Let's pull the seat forward and look at that.
It turns out pretty good.
I didn't want the interior of the truck to be about speakers and stuff like that. So what I did was I made sure everything was self-contained, including the sub. And then Jeremy's guys made me a nice mount board to go where the old gas tank went.
Yeah.
And then the upholstery guy, when we ordered the seats from TMI, we ordered extra leather. And so he made the dash, made a cover panel for all that.
Oh yeah, that looks nice.
Nice and clean. And because it's all metal back there, it projects very well. Plenty loud in this little cab.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's all Bluetooth, you know, does everything.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of What's in My Driveway, brought to you by Sweet Patina. I hope you have enjoyed seeing this awesome C10. This thing is super dialed, and obviously what a treat to have the builder and the customer with his own vision that, well, if I'm being honest, like, the builder took his own suggestions too, and that is a really, really cool thing. So they found a real partnership on this truck to meet the customer's objectives, and I think that's super cool. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. Definitely leave a comment down below. Let me know what your favorite part of Darrell's truck is. This thing is awesome. And a big thanks to Darrell and Jeremy from Redemptive Motorsports for coming out today, for coming all the way down and letting us talk a little bit about the truck. So we'll catch you next time right here on United by Trucks.